In 1999, the acclaimed design firm IDEO was handed what sounds like a completely impossible challenge: completely redesign the ubiquitous, everyday supermarket shopping cart, and get this, do it in just 5 days. Now, most companies would spend, months on research and development for a project like that. But IDEO used a very specific process, and in those 5 days, they changed how the world approaches problem solving forever. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are exploring the innovator's journey. We're going to unpack exactly what that process is and how you can use it to build incredibly impactful products.
So let's talk a little more about that 1999 shopping cart challenge. What it proved to the world is that this methodology, what we now call design thinking, isn't some dry academic framework that only lives in university textbooks or theoretical white papers. It is an incredibly fast, dynamic, and practical methodology. Listen, they weren't just sitting around in a boardroom debating ideas. On day one, they were literally out in the field interviewing grocery shoppers and store clerks. It's a hands-on mindset that forces you to take action, and it's specifically designed to tackle complex problems at breakneck speed, all while keeping the actual humans who will use your product front and center. Now, what's really interesting about this quote is that it reveals the absolute secret weapon behind legendary business wins from companies like Apple and Airbnb. Design thinking doesn't start with solutions, it starts with people. Take Airbnb, for example. Early on, they were failing, barely making rent. But instead of tweaking their code or building new tech features, they actually flew to New York, met with their hosts, and realized, hey, the photos of these apartments are terrible. By renting a camera and taking better pictures themselves, they solved a completely human problem, which was trust, and transformed into a billion-dollar company. They demanded that they deeply understand the unmet needs of their users first, because only when you understand the people can you even begin to design a solution.
Okay, let's dive into this scaffolding. This framework was championed heavily by the Stanford D School and IDEO. It's broken down into 5 core stages: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Now, what you really need to take away from this is that these aren't necessarily a strict, step-by-step linear recipe. You don't just check off step 1 and never look back. It's a highly cyclical, completely iterative process. But having these 5 stages gives you the fundamental structure you need to confidently navigate all that uncertainty.
Stage 1 and 2. Empathize and define. This is where we establish our foundation.
To establish that solid foundation, you have to do something really difficult. You have to completely set aside your own assumptions about the world, because we are tackling what designers call wicked problems. These are ill-defined, totally unknown, or highly complex challenges where there is no definitive formulation. Think about it. You can't just apply a standard math formula to solve an issue like employee burnout, right? Or to redesign a hospital's patient experience. Wicked problems demand that we literally step into our users' shoes and observe what they actually do and feel, rather than what we simply assume they want. To really understand the immense power of defining the right problem, just look at the story of the Polaroid instant camera. It was literally inspired by a 4-year-old child. The inventor's daughter asked him a brilliantly simple question: why do we have to wait for the picture? That single empathy-driven question cut right through all the assumptions about photography at the time, and it leads perfectly into the define stage. It wasn't about building a better darkroom. It was about defining a completely new human need: instant gratification. Once you have that deep empathy and inspiration, you need to frame the problem clearly before you just jump headfirst into the solution space. Enter the how might we statement. This is a super powerful collaborative question framework. How assumes that a solution actually exists. Might keeps the possibilities completely wide open, so you don't lock yourself into one restrictive idea too early. And we reinforces that you're going to solve this together as a team. It's a specific actionable tool to point your collective brain power in the exact right direction. Let's move to stages 3, 4, and 5 and see how this builds. Ideate, prototype, and test. It's time to take action. When you hit the ideate stage, there is one golden rule you absolutely have to follow. Quantity supersedes quality. You must withhold judgment entirely. Seriously, no idea is too far-fetched, too wild, or too silly. If you judge ideas the second they are spoken, you will immediately kill the creative momentum in the room. The goal here is to brainstorm without limits, embrace the chaos, mix and remix concepts, and generate an absolute mountain of wild ideas.
Once you have your wild ideas, it's time to build. But prototypes shouldn't take months to create. We've got another brilliant example from IDEO here. When they were exploring a new medication management service, they didn't build a massive, expensive app or rent prime real estate. They just set up a fake kiosk in a mall.
That's it. It was a low-cost, low-risk simulation just to gauge real human reactions. Prototypes should be quick, tactile, and built for one reason only: to test your assumptions. When you put that prototype in front of real people in the test phase, you evaluate it through 3 lenses of innovation. First, desirability. Does it actually meet a real human need? Second, feasibility. Can we realistically build it with current technology? And third, viability. Is it a sustainable business model? But always remember, desirability is your foundational starting point. If people don't want it, the coolest tech and the smartest business models simply do not matter. Part 3. Design thinking versus agile and lean. Let's compare these frameworks. So the crucial point is that design thinking, lean, and agile are not enemies. They are partners that do entirely different jobs. Design thinking explores the abstract problem space to figure out exactly what to build and ensures you are designing something people desire. Lean methodology then helps you experiment and validate your business model quickly. Finally, agile takes over in the concrete execution space. It's about efficiently executing and actually shipping that solution. Simply put, design thinking finds the right problem, lean validates the market, and agile figures out how to build it fast.
Part 4. Common mistakes and pitfalls to avoid.
As someone who genuinely loves seeing teams succeed, I want to warn you about where well-meaning teams usually go wrong. Here are the big 3 mistakes you absolutely must avoid. Number 1, skipping the empathy stage. Look, if you assume you know what the user wants without actually observing and talking to them, you are totally flying blind. Number 2, falling in love with your very first idea. I know, it's so tempting, but remember, iteration is key to breakthrough innovation. And number 3, failing to test with real users. If you skip the human element or refuse to iterate based on actual feedback, you will efficiently and perfectly build the exact wrong thing. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The world is full of complex, wicked problems just waiting to be solved. So, how might you use design thinking to start with people, rather than jumping straight to solutions in your own work? Think about the challenges you face today and how a little deliberate empathy could completely change your approach. If you found this explainer helpful, please go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment below with your thoughts on how you'll use this, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the frameworks that shape our world. See you next time!